Welcome to the seventh episode of Dr. Lukman's Perspective. I'm your host, Salihu Lukman, and today's topic is titled, What's in a Surname? Averting a Looming Identity Crisis. The following points informed the choice of today's topic. A. Clear improper choice of a surname for someone who uses three names, especially when opening bank accounts or applying for an international passport. B. Appropriateness or otherwise of using one's father's name as a surname for someone who uses just two names. C. Proper use of one's town's or hamlet's name as a surname. And D. Properties of a good surname. E. Using the first name alone to represent one's full name. The scope of the topic is limited to the Nigerian context of naming, most especially what obtains in the northern part of the country where I live. I may use some examples from other regions or countries. Let me start by asking a rhetorical question. What is your surname? Is it your father's name, your grandfather's name, or your family's name? Let me invite Lukman Dictionary of Contemporary English to help me answer this question. Definition of surname, according to the dictionary, reads as follows. The name that you share with your parents. I repeat, the name that you share with your parents or often with your husband if you are a married woman, and which in English comes at the end of your full name. Synonym, last name, family name. Points to note in this definition are itemized below. A. Surname is not the name of your parents, but a name that you also share with your parents. Please note this point. It's very important. Even some professors are found wanting on this. Surname is not the name of your husband for a married woman, but a name that you also share with your husband. That is your husband's surname. I really have an issue with married women changing their surnames to those of their husbands. This will subject a woman to unnecessarily changing her surname in the unfortunate event of separation, may God Almighty forbid, or death of the husband if she chooses to remarry. I see this as an affront to the right of women. Marrying a woman does not mean that the husband has to destroy her initially established identity. I don't know if those fighting for women's rights could include this point and seek liberation from this injustice. C. When you write your full name starting with your first name, your surname comes last. Always write your first name and your last name last. Write your first name first and your last name last unless otherwise directed in a given form. And again, surname is the same thing as last name, as well as family name. They are all synonymous. The dictionary further defined first name to be synonymous with forename and given name. What are the properties of a good surname? A. The primary aim of a surname is for identification and to serve as a connection point to as many of your kinsmen, tribesmen, townsmen as possible. The more people your surname connects you to, the better. And B. It should preferably be unique and different from the available common names in circulation. However, this may not be satisfied at all times because some family names have already become common first names. C. What is of interest is knowing how well linked you are with your extended family via an appropriate surname. Hence, do not use only your father's name as your surname. Instead, use your father's name as a middle name by using at least three names. The middle name is the name between the first name and the surname or last name. And it is usually abbreviated and used only when one is using at least 3 names. It can be one's additional name if one has more than one first name or one's father's name. Saying my names are is illiterate in English, according to Professor Farouk Perogi. So don't open a discussion with my names are. Say my name is. If one uses just 2 names as one's full name, then there is no ambiguity in detecting the surname, as long as the first name comes first and the last name comes last. However, make sure that you have a middle name that is used at least 3 names if possible, to reduce the chances of having 2 persons bearing the same first name and surname. Hausas usually use just 2 names. The Yorubas and Ebiras use at least 3 names in which the middle name is also a given name, because every person usually has more than 3 given names in the Yorubas and the Ebiras. The Hausas, on the other hand, also bears more than 1 given name. But more often than not, the other given name is usually reflecting the birthday. For instance, Jumare for a boy born on Friday, Laraba for a girl child born on Wednesday, and Liti, a boy born on Monday. Sometimes they are given a memorable period during the year, like Azumi, that is born during the holy month of Ramadan, the fasting period. However, these names are hardly used as the official given names of individuals. For instance, my own given names are Khalifa, which is the informal one, and Salihu. Khalifa means a successor, and in this case, a successor to Salihu, who was my great-grandfather. I was using Khalifa Yusuf, Yusuf being my father's name, in primary school up till when my primary school certificate was to be issued. That was when my father, Yusuf Lukman, changed my name from Khalifa Yusuf to Salihu Lukman. Lukman was my grandfather, thus becoming connected with my extended family. If you use 3 names, first name, father's name, grandfather's name, then you should not write your father's name as your last name or surname. Your surname and also last name in this case is your grandfather's name, not your father's name. Many people make this mistake because of the wrong notion that their father's name should always be their last name and surname. This is true if and only if one is using just 2 names. For instance, Salihu, first name, Yusuf, father's name, Lukman, grandfather's name. Not Salihu, Lukman, Yusuf. It should be Salihu, Yusuf, Lukman, not Salihu, Lukman, Yusuf. The last name should be your surname, and should be, in this case, because I'm using 3 names, should be my grandfather's name, not my father's name. I can also write it as Lukman, Salihu Yusuf when asked to start with a surname first, but not Lukman, Yusuf Salihu. Salihu shouldn't come at the end. Others use compound names as their official given names. Examples: Muhammad should always precede Buhari, Awal, Sani, Bello, Salisu, Tasi'u, Ashiru, etc. Again, Shehu is always followed by Usman in the north because of Sheikh Uthman bin Fodio. Hence, every Shehu can bear Usman as his first name. For instance, I have been using just 2 names Salihu Lukman in all my certificates, but was asked to use at least 3 names before I can get a visa to travel to Saudi Arabia for my PhD in 2010. For that, I have to use 3 names on my international passport so that the visa will also contain the same 3 names that are on my passport. And by extension, my PhD certificate also bears my 3 names, being my only certificate with 3 names. You can save your children from this inconsistency and identity crisis by ensuring that they use at least 3 names from birth. A dilemma of choosing a surname arises if one uses 3 names in which the middle name is one's father's name. Many forms in Nigeria require that you write your surname first, followed by other names. And in this case, your surname should be your last name, while your other names should consist of your first name followed by your father's name, as I highlighted in the previous example, where I use Salihu Yusuf Lukman. So if I'm to write my surname first, my surname should be Lukman, followed by Salihu Yusuf. And I shouldn't use Lukman, Yusuf Salihu. Salihu shouldn't come at the end. I have noticed the mistake highlighted above many times. And in the same vein, if I'm using the name of my hometown, say Zaria, then it should be my last name, not my middle name. My full name should then be Salihu Lukman Zaria. And then my surname in this case is Zaria, and other names Salihu Lukman. I have seen many people who use the name of their towns or hamlets among their names, reducing it to a middle name. In this case, the aim of using the name of the town or hamlet to connect one to the people in his town or hamlet is defeated because the middle name is usually abbreviated. Hence, the name of the town or hamlet will die a natural death without serving its intended purpose. For instance, using surname equal Lukman and other names equal Salihu Zaria or Salihu Z is wrong. The surname should be Zaria and other names should be Salihu Lukman. This is the correct way. The name of the town or hamlet should be the surname, not a middle name. People should be encouraged to use a surname that connects them to as many of their kinsmen, townsmen, and tribesmen as possible. Some hamlets consist of people that are related to one another by blood relations. I mean, the inhabitants of such a hamlet should bear the same surname. For instance, all the inhabitants of the Jamawa area in Zaria city ought to be using Jamawa as their surname because they are all descendants of Jammu, hence the name Jamawa. Similarly, inhabitants of the hamlet Kakaki in Zaria city ought to be using the name Kakaki or the founder of Kakaki, who is called Ibrahim Tsoho, from whom they all descended, as a surname. Small ethnic groups like Ninzam in Kaduna State may also use the name of the ethnic group as their surname. Other examples include A. Ibrahim Dabo, who is the first emir to have ruled Kano from the lineage of the Bayeros, would have been a more appropriate surname since it will connect the Bayeros with Abbas and all those that descended from Ibrahim Dabo, who is the second emir of Kano after the Osman Danfodio Jihad. The second example here, names of dynasties such as Mallawa, Sulubawa, and Katsinawa from the Zaria ruling houses, when used as surnames for all those belonging to such dynasties, would have connected the people to their relatives more. In Saudi Arabia, citizens who are originally from Nigeria and belong to the Hausa and Fulani ethnic groups use a general surname, Al-Hausawi and Al-Fulati, while those from Borno state use Al-Barnawi, meaning Al-Hausawi, meaning belonging to the tribe or the ethnic group. Hausa, Al-Fulati, belonging to the ethnic group Fulani, Al-Barnawi from Borno. Can the first name be used as a surname? Although this negates the essence of a surname, that is to connect you to your extended family so that identifying your relatives becomes much more easier. But yes, it has been used in two different forms. The first form of using just a first name as the full name involves the use of a compound name such as Muhammad Buhari, our current president. His father's name is Adamu. Both Muhammadu and Buhari are his first names. Names of former Kano emirs such as Abdullahi Bayero and Muhammadu Sanusi, who is the grandfather of Muhammadu Sanusi II, are all compound names without surnames. The second form involves using just a single name which is divided into 2 or 3 parts. And this practice is rampant among the Asians, like the Pakistanis, Indians, Bangladeshis. An example in this regard is Salimur Rahman. Salimur Rahman is one name which they normally divide it into 3. Salim as the first name, or as the second name or middle name, and Rahman as the surname. So instead of Salimur Rahman, just a single name, it becomes Salim or Rahman. Another example is Ridwanul Haq, which is a single name, a single first name, which they normally divide it into 3. Ridwan ul Haq. Ridwan, first name, ul, middle name, Haq, surname. So it becomes Ridwan ul Haq instead of just a single name, Ridwanul Haq. We need to have an established surname or family name culture in Nigeria for better identification and cohesion. Thank you for listening.